Welcome, everyone, to your Monday Night Muse stream. I am your humble host, Soundgraver. Hope all is well. We have a guest. We have a special guest, my prof, Professor Geek.
Hello.
And yeah, this is our first time together
Yep.
online
Everything's
as a
great.
couple.
It is. Yeah, it is. Sorry, I was having to mute the YouTube. I was hearing you in two different versions in my head there. So
you're on your end.
no,
It's not going to be that freak out episode that happened on my live stream, right?
No sound loop. Yeah, this is our first time on your channel as a couple. We're on mine.
Yes.
But this is happily coupled on your channel.
That's right.
Which is good. I want all those fellows groupies on your channel to see if you are happily coupled.
That's right. So it's exciting, and we're going to be talking just about what we love to talk about, which is art, popular art, and then also archetypes. Your specialty archetypes. So tonight we are going to be talking about the essence of a thing. That's the main discussion. That's the theme, and how we ought to preserve the essence of a thing, and how we've seen it in a lot of cases, a lot of instances, even by well-meaning people, why people are not really thinking about preserving the essential or the essence of a thing. So we'll get to it. So what we'll do is, first of all, is audio good? Do I sound okay, Prof?
You sound good to me. Yeah, I noticed my video is a little clunky, so I'm going to stop cam for a few moments and pop back in a second.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. My Wi-Fi stream, always a problem. But you look great. Your video is nice and smooth.
Well, thank you. And actually, before we get into chat, I want to showcase. It was a rather warm day today, and I wanted to showcase pretty much the best shirt ever. I mean, this tops Star Wars. But for my birthday, it was Nintendo themed, and I got to play a good chunk of time on the retro box, and the prof got me this shirt. I don't know if you old gamers. I mean, I wish Agent Boomer was here if he is. Does anyone recognize this logo? Let's see if I can get out my name. Can you guys see it? No.
Yeah, you might want to stand up if like I know what it is, but if you wanted to stand up and come closer or just roll.
Yeah, well, if I stand up, the desktop is really weird.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And I'm probably ways away from the microphone, but so if any of you recognize that, or to those of you who did not recognize it, that is the Rareware logo.
Brian Gilmartin got it. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. So I'm geeking out with my Nintendo shirt, and again, it's the electric green, against the black. It's like the best thing ever. So that was one of my professor's birthday gifts to me. It was awesome. Yeah. I was so happy when I got that.
I wasn't sure I couldn't remember, honestly, if you liked just the green or when it fades into the blue and yellow either. So that's why I got you the blue and yellow plaque.
Yes.
But then the green t-shirts.
Oh yeah, I should have brought that in. Yes. So he has a small plaque that he gave me. It was blue and gold, which kind of it morphs into the blue and gold after the outline of the green. But I do, as far as clothes are concerned, the green and black is just awesome. So
looks very good.
So yes, it's the Rare logo, says Brian Gilmartin. So let's go ahead and welcome the chat, and then we'll get right to it. So we've got Brian Gilmartin, and we've got Melissa Harrison Sons. Hi, Melissa. We've got Horizon Talker saying hello to the chat, and Wolf 10 Media with his signature, oh hey there, Soundgraver. And I think the prof always wanted to ask what that meant.
Wolf 10 Media teased it one time. He said, sometime I'll let you know what that's from or whatever. And I'm like, what is that from? He's yet to reveal that. It's something he's withholding.
Yeah. Well, when he says it, when I hear it on the stream, it's a normal, casual, oh hey there, Soundgraver. So that's good. And then Dr. Y, let's bring up his comment. It says, so we're going to be discussing the essence of a thing. Yeah, no, not. Oh, okay. I was thinking The Thing, like the sci-fi horror, The Thing, because he had it capitalized. Which thing is that? There's quite a few things, and I really hope it ain't John Carpenter's. Oh, there you go. Yeah, he
Fantastic Fours. That's what it is.
Yeah. Big Al with his have a great stream. Yes, and thank you, Prof, for coming onto my stream.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. We were kind of getting excited about talking about this on our date last night. So it's like, well, why don't we just do it on a stream.
There you go.
And Daniel Herron is in the house, and Owen Lister, and Brian Gilmartin, and Zootopia. Let's put that new name up. It's a change. It's a change. I hope he's not renouncing Star Wars. You know,
Everybody knows he's Disney. A Jedi.
Yeah, he can renounce Disney Star Wars.
Maybe pretty soon he'll be known as Zootopia the White.
Oh man. Yeah. Yep. We're talking about Ahsoka, guys. If you didn't catch that reference.
Yeah, sad Ahsoka joke.
Speaking of Ahsoka, guys, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday is April 17th, which marks the year anniversary of the releasing of the Siege of Mandalore. So in honor of the special occasion, I'm not going to be talking about the visuals. I'm not going to be talking about the awesome music. I'm going to be talking about the terrible writing of that arc, the Siege of Mandalore. It's going to be controversial. I'm going to get a lot of flack. It's going to be fun. But I want to drop it on the year anniversary because it's Professor and I, we went over notes last night. He was kind enough to listen to my notes. And
she's got some good notes.
It's just a lot of them.
She's also very passionate about it. It's great.
Oh, yeah. I wiped myself out getting so angry and all that. Samuel Proctor is in, and I think I did say Wolf 10 Media. Oh, yes. And oh, by the way, happy birthday. Yes. There's my mom. I'm here too for a little while at least. Yes, I told Mom that you'd be on my stream tonight. So.
Good. Great to see you.
So, I'm going to go through some notes. This is how we're going to do it. I'm going to go through some notes. They'll be really brief. I won't go too long on them. And then I'd love to hear the prof's take on those notes if he wants, and then maybe just kind of do kind of improvise, the discussion as we usually do it. So, Holton says, "Hi, Mother Sound." That's to you, Mom, Mother of Sound Engraver. All right. So, I'm going to pull up my notes and we'll take it away. I just want to be sure there's no comments. Good. No comments on the stream. All right. So, preserving the essence of a thing. So, what is the essence of a thing? Well, let me put it to you this way. If you carve a rock to make a tree, it's still a rock. Okay? That's what I mean by the essence of a thing. So, I want to draw on this idea that it's not enough for it to be good art, objectively good art. So you may have seen me on saying this on Twitter or maybe even on my stream, but I often say art must be good and it must preserve the good. What's preserving the good? Well, that's upholding the good, the true, and the beautiful. In the recent years or maybe even a decade, we have seen loyal fans of beloved stories and beloved franchises work to fight to uphold and maintain what is good and beautiful. But in recent months, I've seen more and more that these fans, these well-meaning fans, do not uphold the truth of a thing or the essence of a thing. The most recent example, I think we can all agree on right now, is the Snyder cut of the movie, The Justice League. So fans of the Snyder cut, I'm not even talking about Snyder bros, like kind of cultish behavior. I'm actually talking about well-meaning fans. I've heard them on different comments on videos, YouTube videos, or even on their own channels, where they say the cut is an objectively good film. Now, whether that's true or not, I will never know because I don't ever plan on watching the movie. But one thing is evident. They are not, these well-meaning people are not upholding the essence of the iconic characters like Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. So the question is if it's objectively good, if it's an actually good piece of film or good piece of storytelling, is that enough? Does good art get a pass even if the subject is nothing more than an interpretation of that thing? Does good art get a pass if you remove the essentials or if you remove the essence of a thing? If you remove what is essentially Superman? To that, my answer is no. Art done well is not enough, because I believe, and I'd love to hear my prof's thoughts on this too. I believe that art has a higher role. It must not only be good, but it must preserve the good. And so I ask, what is good? Well, the good, preserving the good, is upholding reality, or at the very least, the essence of a thing. For example, if Wonder Woman has something essential to her, and if that thing is removed in a film adaptation, you no longer have Wonder Woman. You have someone else. She may look like Wonder Woman, but she's not Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Does that mean we can't have interpretations of a thing or a piece of art or a story? I would say not necessarily. I think you can, but certainly not at the expense and at the death of that original thing. Especially when that original thing bears cultural significance. You know, it bears that role to help us understand the way of things. I've seen, I want to add this to my notes as well. I've seen this argument float around the internet saying, well, the artist and the viewer, you know, they have a right to the interpretations of something. And I would say that is dangerous, because it does remove, or I would say it risks removing the original thing from the public square. So if you do have the original thing, or the essence of a thing remaining intact, you know, remaining in our conscious, or, you know, the public conscious, I would say yes, then you can have interpretations. Some examples in music would be, you know, an electronic arrangement of a Bach fugue. So you're not getting rid of the Bach fugue. You're not getting rid of the structural, that musical structure that we call a fugue. You're not getting rid of the original composition that was obviously composed by Johann Sebastian Bach. But maybe a composer, maybe an electronic engineer wants to do an electronic take on that fugue. That's still maintaining the original composition, and we still point to Bach. That is okay. That is a good way of interpreting something. Another thing in music is remixes of original composition. So I listen to a lot of electronic artists that do remixes of original compositions. That they hadn't composed that piece, but they took that piece and then did it in their own style or in their own genre. And I think that's fine, and it's still very good art. So there are exceptions, but the essence of the thing has to remain intact. And to conclude with these notes, maybe you guys have heard Fan Man use this example. He uses the example of a ball. You know, you can paint the ball any color, you can design it in any way, but it's still a ball. But as soon as you lose the roundness, it's no longer a ball. You know, if you think about it even more deeply, a sport needs to have the form of a ball to function within the rules of that sport. Even further, you can't really play baseball with a football-shaped ball. So you have to maintain the form and function and essence of a thing. So those are my notes. I wanted to get that out of the way so we can have a discussion, and then we'll have more examples on things like popular art and stories and all of that. So would you like to add anything to that, Prof?
Well, just to give an example, when it comes to storytelling, you're talking about a ball. How you can't use a football to play basketball, for example. Because you need that round. It needs to be able to bounce. It needs that essence of that ballness of it. An example of that is Superman. One of the horrible tragedies that the Man of Steel film did. One of the many problems with that movie in terms of Superman is that you made Superman kill Zod at the end. Just snaps his neck at the end. And people try to defend that, saying, what else could he do? What else could he was forced to. It was such an interesting moment because if he was going to save those people, he had to do it. There was no, first of all, there are other ways he could have gotten out of it. Second of all, though, that's beside the point. The point is you don't do that to a Superman story. Superman's the type of archetype and the type of stuff that he does for our culture and does for us in stories. He's not the type of character you would try to put into a Kobayashi Maru no-win situation like that, where he just has to do it. That's trying to play basketball with the football. That's not the right character to try and tell that type of story with. It's just a deep and profound misunderstanding of the character, what he does to our in our society, how he functions, his archetype in the most basic of terms. And people try to defend that. That's a great analogy. They're trying to play basketball with the football. They don't understand the proper use of that character, that archetype. If they want to tell that type of story, fine. I wouldn't even say fine, honestly, but at least use an original character. Are other characters out there? We talk about, and we'll definitely talk more about it. Obviously, we're on the topic of the stream of the proper use of archetypes. I would even argue, though, just because something's artistically well done is not, how do I word this? I don't think that necessarily justifies its existence. I mean, think about it. You could have a wonderfully artistically done murder. It could be very artistically done. Does that mean it should happen? Does that mean it's okay? Does that mean it's right? When it comes to stories, I always argue on my channel that you have to be very careful about the stories that you spend time around, the stories that you ingest, that you spend a lot of time watching, because just as the stories we tell ourselves shape us, about our memories, our beliefs and whatnot, the types of stories and the values that they express or they promote that we spend our time around most often are going to shape us. For example, people, I don't want to step on any toes here, but I know we have like a lot of avid horror fans, for example. Now, there's nothing intrinsically wrong with the horror genre done with, within certain whatever. I like good classic monster movie myself, but I'm talking about the kind of people that get up and watch 3 horror films a day. The cheesier, the bloodier, the better. Oh, they just love it, to some degree, it might be sort of a subculture-ish hobby where they don't quite see it as it's presented. I don't know. Anyway, but you can't watch that kind of stuff without being at the very least desensitized, which isn't good. We're made to be to be appalled at certain types of things and types of scenarios and concepts and whatnot. So I would say that you want to look for things that are artistically made, but is it good for you? Is it good for society? And is it handling the archetypes of the characters well? As you were saying. So.
Yes, and we had talked about this last night. Actually, before we move on, Netter's in the house. Hi, Netter. She gave me a hi, sweetie. And then I also
hi, Netter. Congratulations, Netter.
Yes, congratulations on your job. That's good. I'm very happy. You answered a prayer, so that's good. That's a huge relief. So that keep us updated on that. That's great. What is oh yes, I needed to put up this comment, and I'm not skipping comments, by the way, guys. I'll look through it as we go. But Samuel Proctor says, but it was so artistically done.
Thrawn, yes,
and Admiral Thrawn. He's all right.
I know. I'll never let her forget that she called him a Mary Sue.
Yeah, I call them the Mary Sue of villains. Just a tiny bit. Okay. It's all right. We have just differences of opinion.
That just shows how real this is, that I can overlook such a thing.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, to go continue the conversation, we were talking last night about how, let's hypothetically say, in fairness, if the Snyder Cut is a technically good film in every respect of filmmaking, well, then it could be the missing piece is, well, yes, it could be a good film, but do that film with other characters. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with doing that film with other characters. And you mentioned that there was a comparison. I think you said, was it The Watcher, that he did just that with The Watcher?
Yeah, everything, The Watchmen, everything that people tried to justify and say, this is the story he's trying to tell, this is what he's trying to do. He already did that with The Watchmen. And that, I don't ever want to watch the Watchmen movie again. I don't ever want to read the graphic novel again. But the graphic novel was very well written, and it's that's a justifiable instance of a story that does. It's not completely nihilistic because it has a hopeful ending, believe it or not, in the comic anyway. But the idea that you can do that with different characters. They made Alan Moore just made up characters for this, and Snyder's bleak kind of vision and artistic preferences do go well with that type of story. So he's already told that kind of story with superheroes.
Yeah.
And he wanted to now, and this gets to something else that, we talk about how ideologues, they can't just leave our characters alone. They have to take Captain America, make him retire, make him old, make him evil, whatever, so they can put a person of color or a woman or whatever, or transgendered or whatever, just so they can push the agenda. They can't just create their own stories with their own characters. They have to take our well-beloved stories, write them out of the picture, tear them down so they can put their plugins. Well, that's what Snyder did. It wasn't enough for him to do Watchmen or to do another movie like that. He had to take the aspirational heroes of the DC Pantheon and get them dirty and muddy them up and replace them, tear them down so he could plug in his own gritty nihilistic take of them. That is no different than the ideologues out there. It's the same MO, even though, and some people have said, yeah, but at least the Snyder Cut's not pushing an agenda. That's okay. Open your eyes. It's doing the same thing method wise, even if there's no ideology there. It's the same horrible practice.
Yes, I like that you say it is the same practice. I listen to this channel called Left Foot Media, and I do respect him on a lot of social things, but more, less and less on his take on film. The more I listen to him about film, and it's not that he's not insightful when it comes to filmmaking. He is pretty insightful when it comes to viewing a film as an art piece. He loves the Snyder Cut. But one of the things that he criticized, it was this idea of Wonder Woman, and he didn't really have a problem with her killing a terrorist, but he did have a problem with, in the act of killing the terrorist, there was obvious collateral damage from what the film was depicting. So innocent civilians were at risk. They were in danger of losing their lives because of this kind of killing. And now, of course, Wonder Woman pretty much. I trust you know her very, very well, and so I'm sure you. I don't know if you would condone the actual even killing of the terrorist, but certainly not in a very, very dangerous way, as even Left Foot Media, Brandon Malone, he had criticized that he's like, that's not her character. So that's our role. That's your role, Professor Geek. That's my role also too, as sound engraver. Is, well, okay, then why is Wonder Woman there? If that's not essentially Wonder Woman, why have that in the film to begin with, even if it's technically a beautiful film?
That's another great example. Now, Wonder Woman's she is aspirational, but she's a slightly different character from Superman in that she is an Amazon warrior, right? So she's trained in warring, and she, the most extreme cases, it's not good to go right to that. She always extends the hand. That's her saying, never raise a hand against anyone unless you first extended it in friendship. You try to meet minds with them, try everything you possibly can. But when push comes to shove, so it's not completely out of context for her character to, like, say in a terrorist situation, if she's tried everything first, and I refuse to watch the Snyder Cut, so I can't speak to how that scene played out. But if she truly has tried everything, she is one character that could go ahead and do the final deal on a terrorist if it meant saving lives. Completely inappropriate, though, for there to be collateral damage and for others to die. That's the kind of thing that Snyder loves. He said this in interviews. He likes to show that it's not easy. It's not realistic to be a hero. Other people are going to get hurt. It's not fun to be a hero. Why are you telling these stories with DC characters? That is not anything at all. That is nowhere in the instruction manual for a DC hero. That's not what they exist for. That's Marvel. You can tell some stories like that with Marvel, and Marvel does that very well. It's ironic, though, that the MCU, even when it told stories like Civil War, a story that does deal with collateral damage and some of these hard questions about heroes and rights and all that kind of stuff, it was still ended up being more aspirational than Snyder's version of the DC heroes, which exist to shine that light and that people are supposed to look up to always. That Wonder Woman causing collateral damage like that's trying to play basketball with a football.
Right. I'm asking this question actually so I know a little bit more, but maybe it'd be helpful for the viewers too. What is the difference between Marvel and DC in the mood? I hear different things. I hear Marvel is a little bit more serious, or DC's I have been hearing more and more that DC should be darker or should be more serious. I see you roll your eyes. So I know, I sort of know what the answer is, but yeah, go ahead and clarify. There are different roles in comic entertainment.
In the 60s, when Stan Lee was tasked, DC was already well on their way, and they had the Justice Society, and I think even the Justice League at that point, and he was tasked with really making Marvel into something, and he decided that he didn't want to just do what DC was doing, which was good. So he wanted to tell, as he said, stories like the Marvel universe takes place in the world outside your window. He wanted to have characters that were flawed, that didn't always have the greatest self-confidence and stuff like that. So basically, he really focused in on the cathartic motivational archetype, and he just flourished in that. He did it so well, and that's really what the basis of the Marvel superhero universe became. And it was a great balance to DC, because DC had always been the more iconic, aspirational, and every time there were even some crossovers between the two universes occasionally, that I think, was it George Perez that wrote some of them? And for example, it was like the Justice League meets the Avengers, and the Justice League was appalled that people didn't look up to the Avengers in their world. They're like, why aren't you being the better examples? And the Avengers were basically like, well, it's kind of disturbing that people look up to you in your world, because they should be thanking for that. It was just an example of how very different these two universes were. And we should have that. Now, the problem is, people at DC Comics, you had these kids growing up, because, kids are always going to think the darker one and the, grittier one is cooler. Well, you had some kids who grew up on Marvel that suddenly got jobs at DC, and suddenly became in power at DC. And they all of a sudden started to make a lot of changes. They were embarrassed by DC, and they wanted to suddenly turn DC into Marvel. So this is Dan DiDio, for example, forcing the reboot of the New 52. He wanted to make it darker. He wanted to make it grittier. And now you have fans of some are fans of what he did in those DC comics. It wasn't the right thing to do, or just fans of darker stories in general, trying to remake DC into that light. When again, you've already got the Marvel universe. Why do you need a Batman who kills when you have the Punisher? It doesn't make any sense,
Thank you for clarifying, because I think it is very important to know the difference. It's very important to know the difference between the two universes, if there is a distinction, as you just laid out. Because that's where the confusion's coming in. I would say it goes back to the essence of that thing. What is the essence of DC, and how the lines are more and more, the lines between DC and Marvel are more and more obliterated. Like, oh no. I mean, some of the claim, the praise of, Zack Snyder's cut. And guys, I don't read comics. I don't know comics that well. I know that someone special reads comics and does comics well, but even I, like the bystander, the normie, as they say, when I heard, it's like, oh yeah, DC. I mean, this was a real, superhero film. Marvel's, that's kind of a filler film. It's to make you feel good, and DC is like this was real people. I was like, I even know that's wrong, So yeah. So they're trying to, even people with the best intentions are possibly unwittingly blurring the lines of truth of what DC essentially is to something new. They're trying to evolve it to something different.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to point out the comment. Because when I made the announcement that you're on my stream tonight, Wolf 10's like, and here I thought he was going to be in the same room with you, as it was.
Sadly, no.
No, camera's not big enough anyway. So, but yeah, sometime soon.
Soon.
All right. Oh, Horizon Talker says, oh, what's the old rare logo sounding good? I know, I'm so excited. The thing is, I probably won't ever do streaming, game streams, because I don't know if I would react well to different things. I would love to do cover music of soundtracks, and of course I would wear this.
That'd be awesome.
Though I know I will not get monetized for those, because the Easter hymns that I played yesterday.
Oh yeah.
I got dinged for one of the hymns.
They were copyrighted hymns? That's crazy.
Yeah, Warner Brothers can claim one of those hymns. Wow. There are other companies too, but it's like, Warner Brothers?
I didn't think hymns were still copyrighted. That's crazy. If anything is in the public domain, it should be hymns. My goodness.
I did check my hymnal, and I did see the copyright. So.
Oh wow. Okay.
It was It was I think it was 1933, but then it was bumped up again year 1963 or something. So I'm like,
wow.
Okay.
Which one?
My last song, "He Lives."
Oh, okay.
Or not my song, but
Yeah.
Not even that popular. Oh, that's funny. Samuel Proctor says the shirt is a bit pixelated. I'm watching this on my phone, so that doesn't help. So let's see. I had a few questions for you, Prof. Unless you had anything else to say, but that was great. Your input on my notes was great.
Sure. Yeah.
Good. Let's ask a few questions, and then we'll go into the chat again.
Mm-hmm.
So what were my questions? Okay. So the first question for you, Prof. Talking about our role. We've talked about this. So I'm comfortable saying that this is the Prof's role as well. We're comfortable using our channels as a means of really having that distinction of objectively good art and art that preserves the good. Mm-hmm. We're really about that. Yeah. I'm about that as a musician and composer. You, Prof, as a writer and commentator. This is really important stuff. So let's kind of front this idea with a couple of questions. The first question being to you, Prof, what is an example of art done well that includes the removal of something essential to a character?
Mm-hmm. The biggest example is, or the most prominent example I can think of, is Superman Returns. That is a wonderfully made film. And we've done a rewatch, and I pointed out the artistic. It's just a beautifully shot film. It's a well written film. It's a well directed film. Thematic integrity, well acted. It's just a wonderfully made film. Is it a good Superman story, though? No, it's not. It has a lot of great Superman stuff in it, but it does do certain things that you should never, ever do to a Superman story. It does do the whole football, trying to play basketball thing again, with a number of things. Having Superman leave Earth, for a time. He would never do that. The whole love triangle thing, that's silly. You don't put that into a Superman film. Having him go watch Lois, kind of spy on her or whatever. Again, he would never do that. But it's frustrating because it is such a good movie, and the things that it does well, it does extremely well. Like Brandon Routh, a wonderful Superman, and there's so many wonderful Superman moments in it. But you have to be discerning, and you can't get so enamored with the things that it does well that you're just willing to overlook the things that it gets wrong. And you can't be so upset about the things it gets wrong that you can't admit that it is an artistically well done film. But in the end analysis, of course, you can't, I can't recommend it to people who don't already have a good grounding in who Superman should be. You don't watch Superman Returns before you've watched Superman the movie.
Yes,
definitely. So that's one example. Another example. Actually, I'm not sure about this example, and this might be something that the chat would be interested in saying things about. I have often defended the Lone Ranger movie, the Disney's Lone Ranger movie. It is a wonderfully made film. We did a rewatch of that as well. I pointed out once again, wonderfully directed, wonderfully written, really gets at some wonderful themes of a hero and beautiful things like that. It's a film about belief and believing the right things about yourself, and really giving yourself over to higher ideals and higher belief systems. I mean, it really is believing in something greater than yourself. It's a wonderful film about that. But people have pointed out from the beginning, who are big Lone Ranger fans, that it wasn't a proper telling of the Lone Ranger. Now, I don't myself know the Lone Ranger. I didn't grow up with him. He's not a character like Superman that's permeated our culture in this day and age now. He's a character that few people, still follow in terms of a fandom. But I know some people are like, he's their guy, and that's fine. I still haven't really heard any arguments from them or explanations from them as to specifically what about the Lone Ranger's character this film gets wrong. I've heard a lot of reactionary things that they think this film has done some stuff it actually didn't do. But again, I don't know the character of the Lone Ranger. So from what people say, the movie got the character wrong. If that's the case, then that'd be another example. So yeah, you do have a lot of movies out there that are well done, but just didn't get the character right. I can't say that about Zack Snyder's movies. Now, I haven't seen the Justice League, and I won't see the Justice League, his Snyder cut, but I find it extremely hard to believe, knowing everything I do about all of his films to date, having watched Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, he is not a good storyteller. He's not. So you turned around and give him complete and total control over a film, and he adds all these scenes in. As I said, maybe it makes more sense than the Joss Whedon cut, but that's no mark of praise. I can't imagine it being a well done film. Artistically, visually, maybe they like some of that stuff that's going on, but story wise, I can't imagine it's well done.
I will say, part of the praise of that film, honestly, was it's better than the Joss Whedon cut. It's like, well, I mean, is that a standard?
Exactly.
So yeah, I think that's really important. And actually, I did have kind of a bit of a question to piggyback off that question. Kind of in the inverse, do you know of a piece of art that is subpar, but maintains the essence of a character or idea?
Yeah, sticking with the Superman example, Superman 3 and Superman 4. It doesn't matter what your Superman movie is. If Christopher Reeve's wearing that suit, you sit down, shut up, and watch it, because it's going to be a wonderful experience. And those movies do. They absolutely maintain who this character of Superman is. Superman 3 and 4. Superman 2 is kind of its own complicated monster with the Lester versus Donner cuts and stuff, so I'm leaving that out. But Superman 3 and 4 are not very good films. They're poorly done. They're poorly written. The concepts behind them are interesting and could have been done quite well. And there've been different kind of fan cuts and everything, Superman Redeemed and so forth, that have gone a good way to make them actually quite a lot better. But yeah, those films are not very good films artistically at all. No one would ever argue that. And yet they still get the character of Superman right. And I'll still watch them, because of that. So
I would say, I think it's safe to guess this of you. You would prefer a subpar piece of art that maintains the essence of the good or of a character. Not preferable, but definitely prefer that to the removal of something important of a character with good quality art.
Yeah. If I could only ever watch one or the other, Superman 4 or Superman Returns, I'd pick Superman 4 in a heartbeat, because it's more important to me to have the unities of the character in place than the artistic nature of the art in general.
So what I say, because I'm still kind of new to this movie watching thing, would you say then Captain America: The First Avenger is a well-told tale or well-told story and maintains the essence of who Captain America is?
Absolutely. That is a classic. Almost in some ways, it really is on par with Superman the movie in terms of the correct portrayal of a character, a well-made film. I mean, you've got Joe Johnston as a director who's versed in telling those kind of period films. He did The Rocketeer. You've got Alan Silvestri doing the score, and he took, which is really cool. It's a way that you probably noticed it when we watched it. He took the theme that he had for Captain America and evolved the Avengers theme out of that, which makes sense because he was the first Avenger, and he was the one that inspired all of that. So it's it was such a well done film, such a well made film. It really got the character right, and that's what's so joyful when you can pick out movies like that, like Captain America: The First Avenger or Superman the movie, that really truly just nail it on all fronts. Artistically well done, and then really getting the character right.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of what we were talking about last night, in that, you've been kind of slammed on your channel for being too negative or too cynical for having these standards, to which I would say, well, what's wrong with having that kind of standard? What's wrong with having a Captain America film? Why can't we have those again?
Yeah.
And so I think it's not being cynical. It's actually being hopeful and studious to seeing that through again in our art, especially in our popular art.
Yeah, it's being true to your standards. Like you said, that's the thing. That's the problem I see with modern fandom, is that's why we are never going to have, quote unquote, nice things. That's why we're never going to really have a Captain America: First Avenger again, or a Superman the movie again, because the fans out there can't help themselves. They can't wait. They can't not just be happy not receiving new content. They would rather go ahead and accept and receive and compromise with whatever new stuff they're being given, or if they're being given a shiny pebble that's still part of the overall poorly done system, they're still going to celebrate that shiny pebble rather than hold off and say, no, that's the system's broken. I don't care if this shiny little bauble came off of it. The system's still broken. Unless we say no to that whole system, we're never going to get well done stories to the quality that we've had before, which are, as you said, good to the unity of the character and well done, because fans just can't help themselves. They can't wait it out. They can't not consume new content in order to send the message, which is sad.
That's another thing we have to be careful, especially in communities like this, is you cannot celebrate a piece of art. You cannot celebrate a film just because it doesn't have a political agenda.
Mm-hmm,
it's like, exactly. Oh, well, it doesn't have an agenda. It's like, well, that really should not be a standard. Really, no. Honestly, we're used to it being a feature, but at the same time, it's like, no, it betters the film by not having an agenda. It's like, no, it doesn't.
Yeah,
it doesn't work. I think I had yes, I had one more question. So, some would argue, I kind of stress on the importance of the original thing or the essence of a thing. But, someone, would understandably argue that maybe the origin of a thing or the original thing is mediocre or bad. So can you think of a character, or do you have a favorite character that has evolved from its first iteration to something better over time?
Oh yeah, every character I would say, if every character that you look at who has a place in our popular consciousness, who's really like a Superman or Batman, Wonder Woman, they didn't just come out of their creator's mind exactly like that. They were created, and then there's this period of formation, and this goes back to mythology back in the day. This goes back to storytellers telling stories around campfires or whatever, or Homer telling his version of the Iliad or Odyssey. These were oral traditions, and these were stories that were given orally, and then the storytellers shaped them. The poets shaped them based on the feedback of the crowd. So if they knew that there's one point where the crowd kind of laughs, well, they'll play that up the next time they tell it. Or if there's one point where the crowd is kind of losing interest, well, they'll know to kind of speed that up the next time or whatever. They'll form their stories and shape them based on audience feedback in general. So what's happened, like for Superman, for example, he was more of a trickster in those very first stories that Siegel and Schuster made with him. Certain things he couldn't fly. He was much more vulnerable than he became. And he was a little bit more of a trickster as he formed as the audiences took to him and kind of gave feedback. And then you had the Fleischer studios doing their version of it and the radio version. Suddenly he settled in to this character that we've known and loved for decades upon decades. So that's why when people try to argue, well, the first Superman, would kill, or the first Batman used a gun, that's not an argument, because once these characters formed and they settled in, they were that way for decades upon decades, because that's what the culture needed and what the culture wanted. And that's the purpose they served in our consciousness. And it wasn't until changes were mandated from Dan DiDio in the comics, and then mandated from Snyder and Nolan and so forth, that you got any other versions that hail back to that. If the system's working as it should, they never would have changed, because those characters stayed the same in terms of unities of the character for decades.
It's a really good way of saying it. If the systems worked as they should, because there's a lot of, from listening to you, from listening to Fan Man, there's a lot of like going against what should be the natural order of things. It's kind of encouraging to have, for instance, Batman evolve to that knight who doesn't kill.
Exactly.
Even if that might not be that wasn't the first iteration of him, because it sticks with kind of our psyche as human beings. It's our way of understanding things. I think this is what ideologues hate. There is something tangible about our general way of understanding things, our general way of operating. You kind of use that example of, a murder can be artistically done. Is it justified? You know, if you had, I kind of saw this with the liberal arts community in college, where, you know, they would have performance art. I mean, I probably was part of these performance art pieces where the goal was to really shake people in a very visceral and negative way. Like we were supposed to like wrench the heart and the mind out of that person. Like it was, we were trained to distort. We were trained to make people uncomfortable. That was the liberal arts experience.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is it's short lived. It's not a problem. Thankfully, it's short lived because people just won't. They won't stick to that. You know, they won't. You can't have. And I've used this example a number of times, but you cannot have a House of Cards TV show scenario for very long. That show ended in utter nihilism. I'm so glad I didn't cross season 3. I was done with it by the end of season 2. It was just too dark for me.
Yeah.
But artistically, it was a very well done TV show. But that kind of thing, that's a it's not. It's what would I say? It's atypical. It's meant to be atypical. And people are like, oh well, we got to make everything be this way. It's not going to stick. At least it's short lived in that it's not going to be generational.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to have iterations of different things in future generations.
Yeah, an example of that is the you know, these kind of stories that people like because they're dark. Oh, it's just so interesting to have a Superman. Finally, we have a Superman take like that. Well, the shininess wears off because all you're getting out of that is that first time reaction. Ooh, that's so new and innovative. Well, newness dies off. That shine rubs off quite quickly as soon as everybody starts doing it again. It's like stories that are focused around a gotcha moment. Yes. You know, for a while we had that, you know, after like The Sixth Sense, we had a ton of thriller movies that were all based around a twist ending. You know, that was the hip thing in movies to have that twist ending. Well, that's the whole movie just exists to get you to that twist ending. And oh, you didn't see that coming, did you? There's no artistic merit to the film because it's all just a build up to that one moment. And once you've experienced that moment, okay. Well, you're never going to rewatch the movie unless you're rewatching it with someone else that you want to see them experience the twist moment. But it's not going to. It's not the same thing. It's not the longevity of art. So art styles like fine art or music, as you said. I mean, that's an example of how, you know, when they take a holy object or a sacred image or something and desiccate it and call it art, or they who was the one person that took a wonderful I forget what the original piece of art was, but they just painted over it white. And that was their art because it was a statement. No, all this Dadaism and stuff. That's not art. These are just
ideas,
statements. Yeah, they're messages. And art is more than just a message. There is a message to art, but it's more than that.
I've talked about this on the stream a bit, where your art can convey an idea, but that idea does not make it good art. It's got to be good art with the idea. But the idea does not justify the quality of the art. I think people miss this. Yeah. People like, oh, I know I've said this before, but you know, I saw not a documentary, but kind of just a 15-minute film of this contemporary art museum, and some of the contemporary art was beautiful. Some of it was really well done, skillfully made, and I liked it. I do like a lot of contemporary art when it's well done. But again, there was a good exhibition, and then there was this giant lobby of a truck full of rotten bananas. it doesn't take an artist. That's the thing, is anyone can drive a truckload of bananas, dump it on a floor, and like make it look like a square or something like that. Any artist. I'm a musician. I'm not a visual artist, and I can do that. So is it art? No, it's not art because it's not well done. It's like, no, it's a statement of some kind. It's like, well, okay, tell me the idea, but the idea does not better the art, and it certainly doesn't justify the art.
Yeah.
I will always be firm about that.
Yeah.
Probably much to the chagrin of the academics.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's hip in academia. That's the overrun of the trickster in our society. You know, it's
yes.
If you question stuff, that's what's privileged. Don't offer any solutions. Don't build anything up. Just tear it down and deconstruct it. That's all that's focused on today. And yeah, we see that in art. We see that in scholarship. You know, there's no building up. There's no making anything. It's just tearing down. Because then you looked at as the cool kid who's just not going to go along with the norms. You know, he's not conformist or whatever. You're supposed to grow out of that. You're not supposed to grow into a career of it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Statements do not equal art. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think people who have that view of art where a statement is enough, they don't understand the role of art.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't understand it has a higher role. It has a natural order of things, and it has a higher role. And I think a lot of artists, at least artists I've seen, I don't want to say by and large, I'm not going to make that general sweeping statement, but I would say a lot. They just they don't understand how it works.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, there's you cannot deny the spiritual aspect of art. And in a culture that's becoming more and more materialistic and trying to deny any element of spirituality, and I'm not even talking about explicitly Christian spirituality, I'm just talking about spirituality in general. You know, for a while that was the case. For a while it was like hip just to, oh, we're not religious, we're spiritual, or, you know, there's this new age kind of thing holding sway. But it's increasingly becoming more of just utter materialism in terms of nothing exists but matter, you know, that kind of idea. Where does art fit into that worldview? What is art in that worldview? Art is nothing. So that's why you get stuff like, you know, so a lot of the postmodern, just little messages. They don't try to strive for the sublime. They don't try to strive for any kind of forms. You know, what is a well-crafted or a well-drawn human figure, or a well-drawn, you know, what are the parameters? What are the rules? If you don't believe in any kind of absolute truth or absolute good or spiritual presence in the universe, then you have no basis for that. So of course the art devolves. It makes perfect sense. Yes,
and I've expressed the same sentiments, and people say, well, what about cubism and stuff like that? Well, cubism is still an object. There's still a subject to be seen. It's an abstraction of a thing, and that's fine. And cubism that I've seen is well done. Now, if you show me cubism that's not well done, then I'll put you to task. But now, actually, I'm kind of sad, guys. But I was scrolling down comics or comments to see what was up, and I can't scroll back up. And there was a reference, Wolften. You're gonna have to say what your reference was, because on Oh Hey There, Sound Engraver, because 938 and earlier I can't get to, unless you can, Prof. Can you?
Let me see. I do remember seeing that comment. He was saying, nope, I don't think I can get to it either, because he tagged both of us in it. But yeah, I don't see it either. He did. It was some kind of anime where somebody did something extremely well. I don't know. It's a reference. That's all I got out of it. It was a reference.
It's an anime reference. That's all. Yeah. That's all we're getting. Wolften. And it looks like, actually, though, Owen Lister says, don't know how to squeeze this in, but tomorrow I'm celebrating my 25 years of being born. So
happy birthday, sir.
Happy birthday, Owen.
Happy quarter of a century old.
That's right.
I just did some math live. Look at that.
I'm so proud of you, bro. now you're going to suffer the midlife crisis. I've had some friends, like, they bemoan turning 25. I'm like,
really? 25? Wow.
You guys are silly. Daniel is asking me a question. Let's see. What if it's a rock that's a co-pilot? Oh no, that's not absurd at all. Yeah, the geode from the High Republic.
Oh, that, yeah. Wow.
No, I think, like, I've read a lot of science fiction in my day, and I've seen some very abstract ideas, and I feel like a rock could work, but in the context of a rock as a pilot could work. I know it could work, but you have to be a really good sci-fi writer to make it work. And I don't believe these people have the talent. They just wanted to shove in a rock.
Well, it fits the ideology, right? Let's break down the definitions of what it even means to. I think of, like, body positivity, for example. We're going to have a character that doesn't even have arms and legs. They just are a big blob. So take that, your health and wellness, or whatever in shape. people or whatever, it fits those, in a rock can't even be gendered. So there, I mean, you can do something like humanoid rock creatures, like we've seen in the Marvel or, universe and whatnot. And yeah, I mean, that's fine. That's one thing. But when you know the artist or the storyteller's agendas, when they've already kind of showed their hand as to the agendas that they're willing to put on top of or in front of story, when you see something like a rock, it's like, yeah, no. Now, if we saw, Asimov, if Asimov had like a rock character, then it'd be interesting to see how he tried to make that work, but if we know their agendas though,
Yeah. Asimov would be able to write a great rock co-pilot. That brings another point in, maybe a little bit outside our topic, but this idea of trying to normalize everything, like people really, these ideologues really have this kind of, we can't make everything rare. No, you got to normalize this. You got to make this commonplace. You got to make this accepted by the masses. It's like, what is wrong with being unique?
Mm-hmm.
Really? I mean, I never had a problem. I was it was a small department at the time, but when I was in Seattle as a composition major, I was one of, in a group of probably averaging 12 to 15 people. I was one of 2 women, and there's this idea like we have to make everything equal. If it's 15 people in a room, well, we have to take a person out or add a person because we have to divide by 2. We have to have 8 women in that room and 8 men in that room. And I always thought, well, these doctorates, these male professors, they listen to me with my questions. It's like I feel very honored and flattered. I never saw it as a threat. It was like, we have to make everything normal.
Safe space.
It's like, are you guys afraid of being unique?
Mm-hmm.
Like, see, they talk about how special they are, but they hate being special.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, no, I can't be one of 60 people who looks like this.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if you're in the same field, it shouldn't matter. All right, let's see what these people are. Well, yeah, Horizon Talkers, probably wise, Prof. I stopped watching DCEU after Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm.
And I stopped at Aquaman and Shazam, says Wolf 10. Brian Gilmartin says, what I don't get is why whenever someone suggests a work go in a new direction, it's always translated to going in a grim dark.
Yeah.
When that's already been done to death.
Exactly. It's always about making Superman darker. It's not about making the Punisher lighter. Never about that, So if they're really just wanting something new and novel, hey, that'd be new and novel. But no, we don't want that. We got to go darker.
Yeah. We had talked about this. We entertained this idea last night where, people, in our it's understandable within our communities and people we listen to on different channels say, well, why can't they just, have a person? Let's say, why can't we just have an African American or an Asian American character, like a new character of this? Mm-hmm. Why does this Asian girl have to be a copy of Spider-Man or something like that? Well, guys, I don't really think these writers are as lazy as we blame them to be and accuse them to be. I actually think they are very intentional with making copies and deconstructing the original.
Mm-hmm.
Once they deconstruct and remove the original, like Luke Skywalker, for instance, well, if he's forgotten, then they can start with a clean slate.
Mm-hmm. But
they have to remove the previous. They have to remove the first.
Yeah.
The first has to go, and then once the old are forgotten, then they can generate new characters. But they have to remove. They have to remove Captain America. It's like, why is Captain America looking like this now? It's because they have to remove what he has been before they can move on to their own original characters.
That's a great point, and that betrays the fact that somewhere on a deeper level they realize people are going to viscerally respond more to these established archetypes than the new stuff they want to try and give us. So Marvel, for example, you know, when they first started going crazy with their ideology, you know, look what they did. They made Captain America a Nazi so they could make a black man Captain America. They made Thor no longer worthy so they could make a woman Thor. They brought in, you know, the African American Spider-Man. They did all these things. Retired Hawkeye so they could make a girl Hawkeye and so forth, because they knew on some level they had to know that if they just started out creating America Chavez or Kamala Khan and just adding these characters to the canon of still established heroes, no one was going to read their characters. No one was going to care about them. No one's going to read Ironheart when Iron Man's still around. You know, no one's going to do that. These characters, and they still don't. They're not popular today, but they're just they're forced upon the readers. You know, that's why, you know, why would anybody still read Marvel comics? But
you know, because I watch the Fourth Age from time to time, and when I see like a cover of Ironheart and she has that kind of light on her chest, but now that I've seen the Iron Man story, I was like, wow, that's insulting.
Yeah,
like he went through a lot to have that little lit up, you know, flower on his chest. No, it's crazy. You know, RJ from Fourth Age, he talks about how these people, it's the corporatist mindset where corporation is saying, do what works. And they're very risk averse. They don't like risks because, you know, starting something new requires a lot of risk. It requires taking time, you know, and they can't bother with that. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, that's and it betrays a complete misunderstanding of how characters work. Warner Brothers is a perfect example of this. Warner Brothers has always been so reactionary versus actually understanding what works for each character. So when, you know, when Tim Burton's Batman was a hit, let's get Tim Burton to make a Superman movie. Tim Burton has no business whatsoever making a Superman movie, but they tried to do that, you know. They tried to do it, you know, when Bryan Singer made some popular X-Men movies. Let's get that guy to do a Superman movie. No. Zack Snyder did a good Watchmen movie. Let's get that guy to do a Superman. No. Just because Nolan's take on Batman was very popular doesn't mean that you remake the whole DC universe in that take. That's horrible. But that's again, it's just exactly what you said. Let's just go with what worked before. You know, just because these French fries tasted really good fried, that doesn't mean that you fry your banana. You know, it doesn't mean that you do the same
fried
thing.
Fried banana's good.
Maybe that's not the greatest. Being fried, that's kind of true. You could fry a cell phone and it'd still be pretty good. But maybe that's not the best analogy. But you know what I mean.
I see what you mean. Like, oh, you know, French fries work. You know, it's the potato. It's not the way the fries are made. So let's just cut it. Let's cut a potato like a French fry and just serve it. I mean, come on. Have you tried? I shouldn't admit this online, but as a kid, you know, you kind of test things. And have you tried a potato that's not baked?
Raw potato?
Yeah, it's not good.
No.
But if they cut it like a fry, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Let's see. Oh, Dr. Y says, I did a comparison video between BVS and Godzilla versus Kong. Isn't it Kong versus Godzilla? Isn't he first?
Kong should always have first billing.
It was a beam battle video. Man of Steel versus Doomsday compared to Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. Cool. All right. Let's see. Anything else? Those were my questions. I didn't know if you had anything else to add.
Well, one example, this goes back to one of the things that people will argue is they'll say, well, hasn't science fiction or hasn't fantasy, hasn't super comic books, haven't they always been about asking questions? You know, hasn't there always been an element of art, you know, of that in art? And it's true. But the point is, did you do it in an artistic way? Did you do it in a way that I often say in terms of storytelling is a recontextualization of the problem versus just presenting the problem so that you can push your preferred solution? So one example of this, there have been many. I point out the Civil War comic, you know, in Marvel, for example, that happened when the real world, what was going on was the Patriot Act and people really having these difficult questions about how much is it right to give the government X amount of authority just for the safety. Is that really merited because of the changing times or not? This was the kind of discussion that the world was having. So Marvel put out the Civil War comic that recontextualized that problem and having in a world of superheroes, is it right for superheroes to have such power and authority, or should the government regulate it? And the answer at the end of the story arc was kind of ambiguous. It really, you of course sided with your heroes and your characters that you wanted to win, but the story itself didn't glorify one side or the other. It was a really good example of the art taking a real problem, a real issue, recontextualizing it for you to see it in a different light and draw out some sort of new truth from it. Another great example of this, I never stuck with the Orville show, but I did watch the first season, and surprisingly enough, it did this quite well. For example, there's a character, an alien on the crew of the Orville, and he's of an alien race that they're nothing but males. There are no females necessarily. We'll get to it in a second, but in that race, they're a race of just nothing but males, and they're completely different biology, a completely different being, to where two males can actually procreate, like they lay eggs or whatever. So it's not like they just made another planet of homosexuals or something. It's not like they were trying to talk about that kind of issue. No, they created a whole different planet, whole different right. And then they told this one story in this one episode where the character and his mate, from that they did end up having a child. And the child was actually born as a female of that race. And apparently female of that races are born only so rarely, and they're really ostracized or whatever. So most of the times they're actually have a surgery, like gender correction or whatever, on the characters. And that was such a neat way to explore. It was a tragic episode, but it was really profound because it didn't preach to you one way or the other. You couldn't, it was actually really showing you the problem of this issue and showing you that it's not, this is a real deal issue that deserves to be thought about. And it wasn't just, I was so expecting it to go wrong in so many different ways too. I was expecting, because it's made by Hollywood. I was, oh my gosh, they're going to start preaching some nonsense to me any second. And they didn't. That was an example of what the power of science fiction can do, in terms of, that's why looking at them in so many ways, like trying to look at orcs and saying they're example of racism. No, they're orcs. You saying that they're example of racism is saying more about your own racism than anything else.
Unfortunately, your own ignorance of how orcs work, because orcs in myths are evil beings. That's their function. Now, of course, we have Tolkien, where unfortunately the elves were led astray, and then they were over the course of the Silmarillion and that old history. Yes, they had been elves, but in fantasy, the whole function of orcs are that they are an evil race because evil exists.
Yeah.
Well, I would say it's a disservice that people really hammer home different points of their messaging, because you're fighting your audience. Well, why not use a story and make that audience just melt? Like you make me cry with a story of a character. You make me pity that character and want to reach out my hand and help that person.
Yeah.
You could do that for me. You've done good art and you've done your purpose. But the thing is, people are like, no, it's just about the problem with preaching in art is what we've seen. It's like, we have to tell you how bad you are.
Yeah.
No, you need to tell me about the person you're trying to help and be compassionate for.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have that compassion, how are you going to expect compassion out of me? So it's like, well, do these people, do this group of people a service that you fight for, but you have to make me feel their problems done in an artistic way.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then the good science fiction writers of the 20th century, they knew how to do that. They knew how to do that.
I think what you're saying there, I think from a writing perspective, one of the problems today is that writers, whether of television shows or of movies or comics or books or whatever, they've lost the art of building a theme. They've really lost. Now that's the fault of a lot of creative writing professors and whatnot too, because you've got a lot of people who focus on creative writing, and they'll tell you, don't worry about theme, just write your characters and make them believe or whatever. Well, if you ignore how to build a theme, theme is where your values come in. That's where your everything that you hold true as a writer organically shows through in your themes if you know how to build a theme. That's why when we do our book studies on my channel, I point out a lot how themes are built. So for Kenobi, for example, and don't worry, I won't spoil anything for you.
Yeah, I'm
I
still reading it.
know you're behind.
No
But
spoilers in the chat, guys.
no. But I point out when we did the study that there's a theme, a reoccurring theme of motherhood, but also just what are we leaving the next generation? You know, Annalene and her children, and worried about her children. Obi-Wan worried about Luke. You know, Orin and his kids, and not being so great or whatever. You have certain animals, you know, that give birth, you know, throughout the movie, the book, and whatnot. And it's a question about how much responsibility do you have, and how much of a heavy hand should you take in leaving a legacy for the next generation? You know, so it's asking these questions, and we didn't, because the theme was so well developed. You didn't need to have a character stand up and give a sermon on it, or you know, you didn't have to have, like, Orin himself didn't have to be a two-dimensional heavy. You know, he could be a three-dimensional character, a real character, and yet still do what he was supposed to do in the book and serve the purpose he was supposed to serve, so that the themes worked out well. So yeah, developing themes is the problem. Modern day writers, they've lost the art of theme building, so they feel like they have to be so heavy-handed in delivering the message rather than let the theme organically do the job.
Well, you know, on theme, you know, theme I think is important for life applications too. So for instance, your channel has maintained the theme of the iconic hero and archetype, or set of archetypes that perform the iconic hero. And you have supplemental things, of course, to back that up with old mythology, with popular art, and all of that. Because of that theme, your channel has remained consistent, and it can be a channel to be trusted. Now, there are people that you like. There are channels that you like. I know that you've told me these channels. I like them too. But you know, I'm seeing more and more that they don't have a theme to stick to, because they'll say something I agree with on a franchise or television show, and then they are way 180 on another thing they love because they're attached to it, and it's inconsistent with their views. And it's like, no, if you're honest about this, and I agree with you on this, you've got to cast that same light on the things you love too. Exactly. The things you want to love, you have to be honest about. And when that happens, that, you know, when you see that inconsistency, if I could say it, inconsistency, once that happens, the trust kind of breaks. It unravels just a little bit. You could still like the channel, or you could still like the guy. You could still want to trust them, but it's like, well, no, I'm expecting you to be responsible with this area that you like a lot too.
What that shows me too is it unfortunately tells me that some of these channels that are willing to suddenly bring a new set of standards to a work just because it's popular, or most of the people in their sort of circle of YouTubers are jumping on this bandwagon. It tells me that they're more interested in being popular and getting the YouTube clicks than they are actually being consistent in integrity and having integrity with their standards and whatnot. They'd rather just give the Snyder Cut a pass than continue it, than you know, bring the same standards they bring to, you know, other CW shows or whatever, you know, or they want to give CW Superman a pass, you know, where they wouldn't, you know, in another context or whatever. But just because all the cool kids are doing it, you know, and they want to be within that algorithm on YouTube, that's more important to them than actually giving you their tried and true commentary with integrity.
I can imagine people, you know, losing a lot of followers. But at the same time, it's like, well, I've listened to your commentary because or the general you, like, I'm thinking of channel X, for instance, right now. It's like, but I've listened to your commentary. I've been following you, and you've been consistent. And then there's this sudden break, you know. But we also see that kind of behavior too with people who are attached to things. So for instance, guys, I know this is a tired example, but this is my channel. It's okay. I had for the longest time liked very much the character Ahsoka Tano. Dave Filoni and the writing in Siege of Mandalore actually had me stop liking her as a character.
Yep.
That's the tragedy is I had to have enough insight to be able to accept that, no, this isn't right.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't right for her character. But people who absolutely are fans of her would say, well, no, this is great. You know, I just realized this. So many fans of Ahsoka Tano have no problem with her arc in Siege of Mandalore. But ironically, many fans of Luke Skywalker had a problem with him in The Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference?
Mm-hmm.
Should be the same. Well, okay. I know the difference. Johnson ham-fisted his ideology. Like, it was so apparent. It was such a slap in the face. Whereas Dave Filoni's really subtle about his agenda. He's so good at, like, kind of sneaking it in.
Yeah, I think also the fact that people are more, it's more important to most people to experience the adrenaline rush of this trumped up fight, you know, that you're on the side of the Phantom Menace or you're on the side of Disney Star Wars, and we're on, I got to be on my side, so we got to, you know, oh, and if you're on that side, then traditionally, or most people are going to say that Dave Filoni's on the side of the fandom, he's part of the Civil War at Lucasfilms, guys, sure. You know, and all that kind of thing. They're more interested in preserving that perceived conflict than stepping back and actually applying the same standards to Ahsoka in the Siege of Mandalore that you would apply to, say, Rey and you know, Rise of Skywalker or something. You know, if she can be a Mary Sue there, then the same standards dictate the same of Ahsoka and Siege of Mandalore. But nope, got to look at different standards there because she's our gal. She's, you know, she's on our side. It
is using Ahsoka Tano like a mascot because, you know, they had no problem, you know, bashing the character of Rey, and understandably so. She was a poorly written character. We all knew this. But people, it's not. It sounds kind of harsh to hear, but it's like, do you guys really like Ahsoka Tano, or do you like what she represents? Like, or the thing you think she represents?
Yeah.
You think she represents an antithesis to the ideology, but she's actually her character's being strung along with this ideology. And if it comes out, if it becomes transparent, like 5 or 8 years down the road or whatever, it might hurt. Because like there's like this like no, she can't be a Mary Sue. She's not a Mary Sue. She wasn't a Mary Sue for a long time. And I'm like, well, actually, now doing some, you know, reverse engineering is like, oh, actually, no, Filoni actually did make some decisions that is like, yeah, that is kind of Mary Sue-ish.
Yep.
It's too bad. Brian Gilmartin says, there's a balance in these things. Dark and edgy doesn't mean deep and meaningful anymore. Then light and soft means good for kids. Caillou, anyone? I never saw that cartoon. I was too old. And I think my younger siblings were too old for that.
I'm lucky Alyssa had never got into that.
I heard bad stuff. Is it just he's obnoxious? He's not a meaningful protagonist?
I think, yeah, he's pretty obnoxious. It's kind of like there was this cartoon that Alyssa used to like. Thankfully, she doesn't like it. It was called Gaspar and Lisa. It was like these two.
No inappropriate things in my time.
No, it was like these two dogs. You know, it was a Disney cartoon of all things, you know. But it was just like, it was one of that sort of new philosophy of child raising or whatever. Like no one ever really disciplined them, and they were just celebrated for the wonderfully unique little abhorrently behaved creatures they were, you know. It was that kind of thing. I think that's what Caillou is as well. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of like the 90s, 80s and 90s sitcoms that we grew up with, like Growing Pains and Smart Guy and Cosby Show, where it's like, oh, it was actually dramatized that parents disciplined their kids.
Yeah.
Not anymore. I don't think so. No, but all right, I'm trying to find some more stuff. This is interesting. Now, I never saw Rebels, so maybe you have your take on this. But Samuel Proctor says Disney novel Thrawn, though I could see being called a Mary Sue. The Rebels Thrawn was incompetent. Is that true? Yeah,
it is true, and I agree with you on the Disney novel too. I mistakenly, when I was first getting into the EU, didn't know any better. I mistakenly picked up one of the Disney continuity Thrawn novels. And Timothy Zahn still wrote it, so it was a well-written novel, but it was not the Thrawn we know from the EU. It was, you know, very just yeah, Mary Sue Thrawn. It was not a very good. It wasn't the same character in any way. So I concur, definitely.
Yeah. What I will say to you guys on my video on the terribly flawed writing of the Siege of Mandalore, to raise up a character like Ahsoka Tano, I believe at least four main characters are reduced, like substantially reduced. They're not the same characters as you would see in Revenge of the Sith or anything else, including here's a little teaser: Palpatine. He's reduced to a simpleton because of this writing. To insert Ahsoka in a scene. That was the only. There are so many instances where no, we got to insert her in a scene to get her reaction to this or get the viewer's reaction to that. Well, in doing so, they reduce the intelligence of Palpatine. Maul is a fool. I mean, he's a puppy on a leash. Yeah, he is not. He's not intelligent at all. He acts very, very foolishly, and also contradicts himself just to have Ahsoka in the scene. Yeah. I'm so excited to ruffle up some feathers.
You've got great. I can't wait for your video because as you told everybody, you read your notes to me and it was wonderful. But people when they're actually presented this kind of thing logically, they get it. But it's when they're presented and they've already formed attachments to this or that camp. Like I remember, I told you about this. I actually, I showed my students. I focused my college comp course this semester around Star Wars, just the original trilogy. Yes. And we watched the original trilogy, and I would talk to them about what an amazing character Princess Leia is, and how she embodies the heroine archetype, and how she's, we talked about how she was strong. She wasn't she had to be saved, but she also wasn't just helpless damsel in distress. She also did part of the hero work, and she became, a commanding officer, in Empire, actually giving orders and whatnot. And then I showed them that ridiculous Disney short cartoon in which yeah, it's so bad. They retold the events with her in A New Hope, but they recast it so that where Luke and Han and Chewie are just imbeciles. They're botching every part of the rescue left and right, and she has to be the one to save, and it's really overly dramatized. And I pointed out, I said, so this is saying that she doesn't look strong enough unless you make them look stupid. And that's saying that she wasn't that strong to begin with. Right. And they 100% got on board. These are state university students that were like, that's horrible, because they didn't have an attachment already. They weren't part of the camp that was like, Filoni's the chosen one. We have to like his stuff. They didn't have that attachment. So they weren't going to just automatically come in with a preconceived allegiance,
That's kind of a Jedi teaching right there. You can't be so attached to not see the problems and the dangers. I would say. Yeah, and you do good work, Prof. You have shown those 19-year-olds yes, you do know.
To be fair, I'm getting them straight into college. Just they haven't had a chance to be programmed by the liberal arts professors yet.
No, look, your class, I hope and pray, is the impetus to get them thinking like, I think Professor Kreitzer is a little bit better. He allowed me to think for myself.
Exactly.
All right. I'm just kind of going through some related notes. Wolfton possibly sums this up pretty well. DC heroes you look up to, and Marvel heroes you want to be, they're better, work up to be their better selves.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting the difference between aspirational and cathartic motivational. Yeah.
Oh, and Owen also says Marvel was supposed to be the edgy one, not DC. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see. Trying to. Zootopia brings up this question. He posits: if you're going to have Superman kill Zod, why not give Batman a gun?
Yeah.
So
no rules anymore. Just darken everything. Mm-hmm. They even said when Wonder Woman, the images for Wonder Woman were coming out for the Batman v Superman movie, the costume designer working with Zack Snyder, they showed like the red. And they said they wanted the red of her costume to be the red of like centuries worth of congealed blood of her enemies died
Really,
upon her.
that's
Are you
that's
kidding me?
that's so abhorrent. That's I mean, no.
Yeah, yeah.
But I would. I mean, if I were to portray Wonder Woman, I would feel weird as an actress to have that because it's so incongruent. You know, if it were again, if it were another character, that idea could work.
Hmm.
You know, very yeah. No,
Red
that
Sonja, something like that. That's well, and archetypically, that's the difference between the heroine or the phallic woman. In
oh yeah,
archetypical terms,
that's
they,
good.
the heroine's difficult to write because you have to really be. Now, there's nothing wrong with a good phallic woman archetype character. Red Sonja is a great character for those types of stories, but you don't tell a Red Sonja type of story with a Wonder Woman character,
Right.
or vice versa.
You don't play basketball with the football.
Exactly.
Have you guys seen how a football bounces? It doesn't work. Let's see. Wolf 10 says, Death of Superman was a prime example where you had an aspirational hero doing his best in a situation where lives were taken and he soldiers through it. That is a hero. But I don't know the story.
Which death are you talking about? The Death of Superman in the comics? Yeah, that was a great example.
Harass and Talker is talking about, Zahn's work for Thrawn, but this strikes me as just so odd. Not against Zahn himself, but so you're known for a body of work like the Heir to the Empire or the Thrawn trilogy, and then you write the same character that is so famous in a different way.
Yep.
That's a weird idea. Now that I think about it, it's like.
Yeah, not just Zahn too. There were a number of writers for the EU, and the easiest answer is they're just following the money no matter what. They just want to get paid. But I think that you probably have a lot of them who do actually have politically or socially values that line up with a lot of modern day ideologues. But it's just that now the culture and the industry is made it socially acceptable to just go right to pushing those ideas, whereas before in the glory days of the EU, that just wasn't accepted in the industry or in culture. You still had to tell good stories, or it wouldn't be sold. Today, we're just in this sort of bubble of the ideologue, holding sway that it has to be agenda first, or we don't hire you.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning again that's what our channels are really about, is to really challenge. I mean, this is what artists live for. Challenge the status quo, guys. Or challenging the status quo, which exactly. Now has been, it has devolved into this where art is no longer important. It's secondary. That's the thing, is these artists, these so-called artists, the way they are producing art is claiming that art is secondary to what they personally feel. Now, there's nothing wrong with conveying what you personally feel in a body of work, but you have the responsibility as an artist to do it well, Or, as I've said many, many times, your art will be short-lived. It just will. It won't stick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking to you guys. I'm talking to the academics.
Big Al. Pelion is greater than Thrawn.
What did he say? I don't want to go down so far.
He said Pelion is greater than Thrawn. Him and his Pelion.
I still love that reaction when you're on the last scene in the book study, and you mouthed out, and Pelion being killed, and then I heard Al's I don't think so.
He's not killed. He was just stabbed. He's not killed.
He was hit in the neck like this. So he blacked out for just a little bit. But I do believe, Al, that Pelion lives. Or Pelion.
He is. Lives. He does live. Al's correct, but it's funny that he was like,
that was his villain. Now I would say, man, dude.
Looks like you froze up there for a second.
He's in the middle. I hear you, but there you are.
Yep, I'm still here. It looks like you're froze on the YouTube there.
Oh
Or you were
no.
froze. No, you're
You were,
back. I think you're back.
you were froze too.
Oh, I was
We
froze too. Okay.
we were frozen together. That's so romantic.
Nice.
Um, all right, let's see. Owen Lister has a pretty valid question, I would say. Is there a way, this is to the professor, is there a way to mix both the cathartic Marvel and DC aspirational so they can coexist in one universe?
Oh, absolutely. They have to. They have to. Yeah. I mean, both DC and Marvel. You in order to have a character like Spider-Man, wonderful example of a cathartic motivational hero, you have to have a character like Captain America.
Yeah.
He has to have real aspirational heroism. The cathartic motivational characters need the aspirational heroes to strive for, to be like, and then in that striving, they can fall and stumble and pick themselves back up. That's the cathartic motivational characters don't work if you've taken away every aspirational hero. So,
Mhm.
in DC, you can have Green Lantern because you have Superman, or Wonder Woman. You can have, you need them both, definitely, absolutely.
In the practical example as Christians, it's like, we Christians look to modeling. Also,
Oh, there you go.
Did I freeze? Okay, so who's freezing, guys? Because I see the prof freezing.
I'm watching YouTube and I only see you freezing for a second.
Oh man, I just realized my live stream says that it's kind of low on the. Oh, there it is. Okay, it might be my spotty internet, guys.
It was just for a second, though. You're back. So
there we go. So I internet interrupted me talking about Jesus. So we were talking about, the cathartic hero really is like that well-meaning Christian striving to be like Christ. Christ is our aspirational hero in our Christian faith. So it only makes sense that the saints are, we are not perfect, but we are always trying to shoot for that Christ-like model. So.
Absolutely.
Dr. Y makes a comment. Says, "I go through the copyright thing every Sunday. I'm surprised how great that art didn't get dinged." Okay, well, don't give YouTube any ideas. It's not a big deal. It's like if my channel were monetized, then I wouldn't be able to monetize the film or the
oh yeah, no
stream. So it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But this is kind of I would say this is why I like to do original music anyway. Now, if I get a copyright claim for my original stuff, something's happening. I'll talk to people.
One of these days, you'll see Sound Engraver on violin and Professor Geek on bass.
That's gonna be sweet. So I'll have I have Star Wars shirts and I have a Nintendo shirt. So you'll have to have a Nintendo shirt too.
Yep, I'll do a Nintendo shirt. No problem. I'll get a good Super Mario or Zelda shirt.
Yeah, I will, because I am classically trained on violin. I will one of these days get the classically trained Nintendo shirt with the NES
the controller. Yeah, nice.
I'm a little sad. This is more of a discussion between you and me, but I'll say it online, as this is such a sidebar. But David Stewart is doing gaming stream of Final Fantasy IV, which is one of my favorites. But he's doing it through his PS3, I think it is. Or Vita console or whatever he calls it. I don't know anything about the new console.
There's a PS Vita, yeah.
He says, well, he's doing that version, and I was telling him on the stream that we'll do the SNES version together. But it was the SNES was heavily censored in North America, where the dialogue is not as great. So we have to be aware of clunky dialogue in the SNES version, unfortunately. But the story's pretty good. That. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to, actually, I kind of, after the Donkey Kong series, I might want to just jump right into some Final Fantasy.
We've got them all. Yes. The retro box awaits you.
I know. Miss it, but I don't miss it as much as I miss you, Prof.
Only you live closer or something.
Yeah, I know. So far away. Dr. Y says, well, we found a Lone Ranger fan. Thou shalt not take the Lone Ranger's name in vain.
I think he's the one that was posting about it in the group too. And that's fine. I'm not, I followed him. Now I will say, as I said too, there is a difference that Lone Ranger isn't to our society as Superman is to our society. At least right now, anyway. Superman might go that way with people keep telling horrible stories of him and stuff. But yeah, no, I'm all for learning more about the traditional takes of Lone Ranger. But the average person on the street doesn't know who the Lone Ranger is, where the average person on the street does know certain things about Superman. So.
Right. We've got, I mean, we still have a good grasp on, a character like Zorro, for instance. But
to a degree, yeah.
Even that's going away.
Yeah.
All right. A little bit more. I might, if I get caught up in chat, I might cut it at the 2-hour mark. Of course, you have schoolwork, of course. I have writing to do. Brian Gitmartin, I have no idea what he's about to say, but he usually raises a good point. What people who demand things to be grittier often forget is that constant darkness is also unrealistic. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
It would be like me refusing to leave my apartment on account of some crazy ideologues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're gonna have to talk because I have to cough.
Okay. Yeah. One of the examples I give to my class is when I'm teaching my class on heroic archetypes, and I'm talking about I give my presentation about how a lot of films just went through this horrible where they wanted to make everything dark, and they're dark, dark, dark. And I said, you need the aspiration. We need to see our heroes give hope. And I say, it's not just a matter of, I want every superhero movie to be light and fluffy and haha happy or whatever. And what I do is I show them the scene from season 1 of Daredevil, in which Daredevil, and I set it up for them, the wonderful hallway scene. Those of you who've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. It's so master, because it's very dark and realistic, but it's so incredibly inspiring. You've got the character of Daredevil, who's trying to save these slave traders have kidnapped this little boy as a way to lure him out so they can kind of take care of him so he stops encroaching upon their business. So they set this trap for him in which they just give him this epic beatdown. I mean, he's stabbed, he's beaten, he's just barely, moving away from it. Now, Daredevil does heal faster than the average person, but he barely escapes. This nurse kind of helps, stitches him up in a couple of ways, but he doesn't just sit there and convalesce because he knows that little boy's still out there and needs to be saved. So he finds out where the little boy is. And he's got this hallway of all of these different gangsters and these thugs. And at the end of that hallway, that little boy is being kept in a room there. And it's just wonderful. And it's really dark and heavy and brutal scene where he fights his way through this whole hallway. And you hear the bone crunching. You hear it's a difficult fight. It's really brutal, but he does it. And he's barely getting up each time because he knows that little boy needs to be saved. And then he gets to the end. And right before he opens the door, he takes his mask off so he won't scare the little boy. And he opens it. And you hear him say, I know you're afraid, but I'm here to save you. Let's get you back to your dad now or whatever. And it's just the most touching thing ever. You can have the darkness and the realistic and the gritty if that's to your taste, but you show that heroism is important. It's right. It's worthy of doing, and you're capable of doing it, and that's the work of hero stories. It's not the work to make you just question, is anything even worth it anymore? No, that's the wrong type of story to tell with a hero.
Yeah. I mean, why have heroes if you're going to go down that route? I mean,
yeah.
Now, of course, I don't know the character myself, but Melissa says Lone Ranger has a no-kill rule. I don't know, but if that's true, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, the Disney version, he's not out to kill people, but yeah, I think people do die as a cause. I mean, it's that kind of story. So it's a Wild West story. So yeah, I could see how that would violate that rule. Definitely.
Now, actually, this is a little old of a comment, but Prof, vocals gained a quality spike. I don't hear it now, so hopefully it's fine.
Quality, like they became higher volume, or just better quality?
Kind of like what we talked about before our date last night. With your
with the fuzzing and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh.
But I think
it's better now.
I mean, I don't hear anything now.
It must be a cable thing. I think it has to be a cable thing. I might have to get a new mic cable.
It could be
probably
Red Heart interface. I'm sorry.
What's that?
It could be my Red Heart interface.
The Focusrite? Oh, I don't think so. I like that.
What we should do is, like, the next time I come up, is I'll take my Focusrite and you can do a couple sound checks.
Absolutely. Yeah, that sounds good.
Big Al says the main thing about Lone Ranger was Tonto portrayal was a goof or as a goof, but if you get over that, it's really a fun film. Oh, and he's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I meant to add.
No,
The Lone Ranger doesn't kill. He doesn't drink, smoke, or chew. He'd be someone Superman would look up to. Disney's is a mockery of that.
I wouldn't say it's a mockery because this character doesn't drink or smoke or chew. But killing is part of it. It's a Wild West, so their characters do die. So I can see how that would violate that. Yeah.
Let's see. This is kind of funny. But Zootopia says someone added up all of Zack Snyder's slow motion scenes in the movie, and there's a total of 24 minutes of slow motion in the 4-hour movie. That's very Zack Snyder style and very bad storytelling. So 24 minutes. I'm going to do some math here. That is 10% of an hour.
Mm-hmm.
10% of an hour. Okay.
And specifically, that's bad directing. You're right, it's bad storytelling, but specifically, it's bad directing because you've taken one visual trope and overused it to the point where it's no longer having the effect on people that you want it to. You know, slow mo should kind of take people aback, like, oh, that's kind of new. Oh, wow, I see all the things that are, oh, wow, that's cool. But you've overused it now to the point where it's just like, oh, another slow mo. It's like J.J. Abrams and the lens flare. Oh,
right.
Light splashed into the lens again. Great, Abrams. We see you did that thing again. You know, that's bad directing.
Yeah. That's crazy. I think I got that math right, but
I couldn't tell you.
6 minutes for every hour, I think. So anyway, I don't know. 6 of 60 is 10%. I did it right. Cool. It's been a long time since I've done those mobile math games like that really push you to do some. I was so fast at division. I was so proud of myself.
Really? Wow.
All right. Trying to do a little catch up with the chat. I'm at 10:13 p.m. right now on chat. Horizon Talker says, a great example of a mediocre character who evolves into a much better one during adaptation is William Cage, a much better character in the film than in the novel. Good. A little bit more. Looks like people are chatting amongst themselves. Brian Gilmartin says, to you, Professor, that's what bugs me about today's writers. They don't listen to fan feedback and will strawman, insult, and otherwise reject any of and all critiques that don't kiss their rears.
Yeah, that's yeah, I mean that's the ideologue's viewpoint, right? We need to remake the world the way we want it, and we're going to do that by reshaping its culture, its art. But people don't realize Snyder's crew does the same things. David Goyer has even come on the record and said, you don't give the fans what they want. You give them what they don't even know they want.
Yeah, that's really
Who are
invasive.
you to even know what we don't know we want? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's really invasive. That was such a an attitude in the music department. Like, you don't like it because you're not comfortable with it. It's like, no, I just don't like it. I'm fine with being uncomfortable. It's just I don't care for that art. It's like, oh, well, it must be good. See, that's the thing is like in the liberal arts, at least in my experience, I can't say this for every college in the U.S., but in my experience in liberal arts, it was like, if the general public doesn't like it, it's deemed good art.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you probably had your share of that in the writing department.
Oh yeah.
It's like, no, it's just bad writing. It's like, no, you just don't understand it. All right, just a little bit more. Trying to catch up. Wolf 10 says, I like to convey a story with still pictures. I love to inject emotion as well. I don't need a message to tell my art. I show my art. Okay, so it's really interesting listening to people like Fan Man and RJ with their knowledge in comics. I like listening to these people and listening to you because I start understanding how things work and how things don't work. I also a few friends of David Stewart's also work in the comics, at least the graphic novel art space, where that kind of media or medium, I should say, is very different from film. And the thing is, like, these people who praise Zack Snyder's cut, they're saying this is how you do a comic book story, but they were saying it in a way where it's like, wait a second, no, you're actually saying a film version of a comic superhero story is treated the same as a comic graphic novel. It's like, no, it's not the same. It can't be the same. There's no way.
Two different mediums.
It's two completely different mediums. Like, no, film doesn't work the way a still comic graphic novel works. It's really weird. It's really strange. Wolf 10 says, I won't tell you which characters are my best friends. I will show you what they're best friends. I'm not so against telling. Yeah, I know it says show versus tell, or show don't tell. But actually, there's a little bit. I would say that there'd be a little bit of wiggle room. I'm trying to think of a concrete example right now, but I can't think of it right now.
We'll say Owen Lister's popping out. So good night, Owen. Happy birthday again.
Oh yes, thank you, Owen. Thanks for catching that, because I don't get to those comments until like too late. So happy birthday, Owen. I hope you have a wonderful day tomorrow, and
absolutely
see you later this week. All right. Dr. Y says, if statements equal art, then World War II was a big work of art by a misunderstood Austrian artist. I like that covert comment. That's good. Yeah, seriously. Horizon Talker says, what makes good art? Man, that's a whole other topic, but I've talked about that on the stream. I have talked about what makes objectively good art and all that. Can't remember which. Oh man, that was months ago. I think that was even before we started dating. I did a stream called "What Is Good Art." I think that's.
Oh yeah,
the stream.
That was a good one. Yeah,
a long time ago.
Great stream though. I remember that.
I'll have to check that out, like, to remember what I said, because I forgot what I said. I probably agree with my future self. Or my past self, however you look at it. All right. Geode is the key to all this. Why is his name Geode? That's so silly.
Oh, that's the rock character?
Yeah, that's the rock co-pilot. It's called him Geode. Yeah. You know what geodes are, aren't they? Aren't they like the new age crystal decorations?
Oh, are they?
I think so. Let's see. I got to look this up. And let me know on your time, Prof. I want to be mindful of your time.
You said 11:30. That'd be good to.
Okay, sounds
at least
good.
If we're done by then, that'd be about as late as I could go.
So what am I doing?
Geode.
I want to share the screen. All right. Let's see if this works. You guys see that? That's Geode. That is such a new age thing.
Yeah.
Like, especially the amethyst ones. Oh my gosh. All right. Let's get back to chat. Do you ever have that like unnerving moment when you stop the share screen, you're going to stop the whole stream?
You're going to turn off the whole stream?
Yeah, like you accidentally exited out or something.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you ever feel like I'm going to push the wrong thing?
Gonna pull a fan man and exit out of your own stream.
Right. Oh, okay. So here is the concrete example. A reference to the anime Cells at Work. White blood cell does his job too well. Violence. When he does, he sees a red blood cell and says, "Oh, hey there, red blood cell." So I'm a good cell. Anime, man. That's anime on red and white blood cells.
Red and white. Is that like an anime magic school bus or something?
Yeah, but that's like. Wolf10 says sound engraver. They created non-binary aliens in the High Republic. I mean, I think that's
Oh,
really
no, I
insensitive.
saw that.
That's so insensitive to presume that aliens would have that worldview. That's very insensitive, I think. Professor Alan Bloom makes a really good point, about culture and that this is something we have to understand. This is something we absolutely have to understand. All people of the world, all different people of different cultures of the world, different regions of the world, continents, whatever the case may be, you're never going to have a homogenized view of how things should be, ever, ever. Because how we view culture in America or the American tradition will never be seen or valued in another part of the world. So it's so weird how it's like we gotta assimilate all these cultures into this one homogenized thing. I was like, you think we can do that because Americans are so open-minded. And I'm not saying other cultures aren't open-minded. I'm not saying that, but they do have a specific worldview that you won't agree to, and they won't agree to you. So it's an impossibility to have this this idea let's homogenize. So in the Star Wars universe, how dare you assume aliens think non-binary is a thing? That's really insensitive.
Yeah, the thing is, if you somebody should write a story. There probably has been a story somewhere where humans encounter a new race or whatever, and they try to push their political correct ideology on them, and they find out that actually doesn't work with their culture or work with biology or whatever. It's just doesn't follow.
I mean, I've read short stories where the alien ambassador is so offended that we eat our food with our mouth and digest it and chuck it another way. I mean, it's abhorrent to that alien race. Okay, it's like you don't absorb food like from the sun. That's so vile. So it's yeah. Anyway, Horizon Talker says you are 100% correct. They hate being unique. They want to be a part of a group, and they think being different makes them not part of that group. It's really weird. It's like, where's the special and special? It's like, I'm special. It's like, no, you hate being special. We're trying to go through the comments and some Kong versus Godzilla comments. I haven't seen the movie yet. I have to see Big Al's. Still have to see his review. I bet
his review's full of spoilers, so I'm not watching it until I watch the movie. He did say there are spoilers in this review. So
should we watch it together? Oh,
I'd be happy to watch it with you, but you'll have to. Oh, it's out, but you'd have to watch Godzilla and Kong Skull Island first. I'd happily watch those with you if you wanted to.
Is it available on streaming?
Yeah, they're all available on streaming. Yeah,
maybe we'll have a Godzilla Kong date night.
I'd be up for that. That'd be cool. I have the best girlfriend ever.
I know that Al would be like, "What?" And I'm not going to be in this date. I'm not saying I'm a fan of it. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Come on. I'm almost done. And then we'll probably wrap it up. Ooh. Wolf10. Oh, I lost your comment. It was a good comment too. Let's see. He says, I used to call Ahsoka an author's pet because of the upgrades Filoni gave her in the series. Now she's a full-on Mary Sue. Author's pet.
Yeah.
I hope I never have a character where that's evident. I love my characters. But no characters get partial treatment in that way. You're just sitting still, right? You're not frozen.
Yeah, I'm not frozen. Just patiently waiting, reading the comments.
Oh, okay, good. Come on. Hey. Oh man, I just passed the Paleo comment. I'm behind. I should sing or something. All right. Thanks, guys. That was probably 15 or 20 seconds of just kind of going through. Since
It's like
RJ's,
it's like a rewatch on Fan Man's channel.
yeah, exactly.
Silence.
I hope like either you have a joke or Fan Man has a joke, and then Big Al has like a cricket at his window, and you actually do hear the cricket. Okay, guys, Chrono Trigger is definitely on my bucket list to do.
That's on there.
That's not a good phrase, but I'm definitely. Oh, it's not the way to say the phrase, but I'm definitely doing Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, that's on the retro box, I think.
Yes, good. I think we'll do Donkey Kong 3. I kind of want to do the lost levels of Donkey Kong 2, just to keep the Diddy Dixie relationship, but I'm kind of anxious to do 3. Okay. Almost there. All right. Thanks, guys. I mean, usually if I have a guest on, it's kind of hard to go through comments, but thank you. If I'm missing any.
D.R. Yeasley says Geek Kong versus Alzilla. make the stop animation, D.R. Yeasley.
Oh, that's right, man. That's good stuff. That is good stuff. Big Al says, must enter the Monsterverse. Like, Big Al, would you be sad that I wasn't so into it? I mean, I might be.
I'm not into kaiju in general. I won't watch any of the old Godzilla movies. I have no interest in them. But I have to say, these new films that they've made are just the films are so well done, and they're so the themes and everything are really great, that I was really invested in them. So I'm excited to see Kong versus Godzilla. I always give my reviews until the hype's down a little bit, because I don't like jumping on a bandwagon or something,
Right.
But I'll watch it probably by the end of this week, and do a video on it.
I think you had that video too. The Kong, is Kong the hero we've been looking for?
Yeah, and I did an analysis of Kong Skull Island. It was really good.
Yeah, that's great. It's good stuff. All right. So, what do you have on the dock for your channels, Prof?
Tomorrow night we are going to start the last battle on the Catholic Bible Geek channel, and then Thursday night we will return with another Red Harvest study. We had to miss last week, but because of Holy Week, but we'll return this Thursday night on the Professor Geek channel. And I think I need to confirm with Fan Man. I think Al, didn't he say he was busy this week? I think he said he was busy this week, so he's not going to do a Fan Man and his Fantastic Friends. And if he's not, then I might go ahead and do that Superman versus the Elite rewatch on Friday night on the Professor Geek channel. So we'll see about that.
Al with his subtle, not so subtle comment.
He said that to me once live. We were together, and he said, "You better take care of Sound Engraver, or else the kaiju will steal your bride." And we cracked up about it. So now he's bringing it up in chat.
That's awesome. I am blushing. And just a confirmation on times is 9 p.m. correct on both?
Yeah, 9 p.m. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it, and I know I think I know who Al decided, but we'll let him reveal.
You'll appreciate this. He sent me a text and he did his reading. He said, "I hate that ape."
I knew Al was gonna hate the ape. I knew he was gonna hate Shift.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Shift is, I'm all for Mercy, but man, that this is a very despicable character.
Mm-hmm.
He's really bad.
Yeah.
He Lewis really knows how to write very dislikable characters.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Let's see. Well, of course, I have my Thursday sound experimentation videos. I hope to do more SuperCollider. I tell you, they are my bread and butter when it comes to views and all of that. I am probably just shy over 200 more required hours of public watch time before I could get monetized. And even then, I don't know when I would be eligible for that. But so keep watching my stuff. Maybe I'll do some more pretty sounds of granular synthesis with my sound experimentation videos. If I have time Wednesday, I'll have something for Saturday, either a commentary video of a past stream that I think is still very, very important to talk about. Mm-hmm. Or if I have time, I have to write out the notes, but if I have extra time, I'll I could probably review 2 of Eveline Fisher's Donkey Kong tracks for
Oh, nice.
part 4 of that series. It'd only
Those
be
are
2
cool.
tracks, not 3. So if I had time, we could do that. Just kind of a word of not warning per se, but there's something with my computer where it will freeze while I'm playing. So you may see me speaking in my videos, and you'll see a couple seconds of just complete frozen sound engravers. So it could just be the age of my machine. I cleaned out a lot of my memory space, my storage space, but oh well, it's just the way of things. So hopefully some things that.
Sorry, I was about to bust into a really bad dad joke, and I stopped myself.
I like dad jokes, but they have to be good.
You won't like this one. You said you might see a few seconds of frozen sound engravers. I said, you mean you're going to bust in to Let It Go? Even I censored myself on that one.
It's kind of.
It's not great.
It wasn't the best. It wasn't the best. I would never cosplay Elsa ever.
Oh,
ever.
Thank you.
Ever.
Thank you.
So that's on the dock for my channel. And guys, you know the drill. I mean, I think we have our weekly routines, with Wolf 10 and his live streams on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Fan Man with his Second Cup Cafes. Be on the lookout for that. Did he have one today? No, today's Monday. Thought it was Tuesday for a second. So Fan Man with his Second Cup Cafe and his thing, if he's doing anything Friday nights, of course his schedule depends. And then also rewatches with either Netters Network or Big Al Presents, and of course Aged Boomer and not Study Hall anymore, but Geeks, Geeky Geezers.
Geeky Geezers
with Troy Pacelli. So I think that's it for me, guys. Is that everything for you, Prof?
Yep, I'm out.
All right. Well, guys, thank you always for watching and listening. It's always a pleasure, and always be on the lookout for some more sound experimentation every Thursday and some live commentary every Monday nights and maybe some stuff Saturday. And until I see you next, keep producing the art you love, and I will catch you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.